Man, I'm still messed up from this one. I haven't done a podcast in like 3 weeks. The last one I did was with Josh from the band Psychostick, and it was good. And this one kind of put me through the ringer. I'll be honest. I've never sat for 5 hours doing a podcast before, and this is the longest podcast that I've ever done. And it's with my friend Steven, who currently resides in the jungles of Cambodia, and he's a white man from Southeast Michigan, the Detroit area, who I've known since about 2004, and like a party legend in the Detroit community back in the day, and used to throw these wild parties with all types of debauchery. And he would hire like Bridget the Midget, or he'd hire DJ Jazzy Jeff, he'd hire Ron Jeremy, and he'd throw these big parties and just have a huge budget and spend a bunch of money, and he wouldn't necessarily make that money back. But an extremely intense dude, and someone that lives life on the very edge of insanity, and has ever since I met the guy. And he tells stories on this podcast it's a 5-hour long podcast. I don't know if I'm going to put this out in 2 parts. I don't know what I'm going to do. I might just put out the whole thing. But I'm exhausted just from talking to him. And it makes sense because, okay, this dude, like, he speaks the Cambodian language as his second language, but he doesn't comprehend it like you or I comprehend English. You know, like, he can't get into deep conversations. His wife does not speak a lick of English. His in-laws, who he lives on the compound with, they don't speak a lick of English. And he goes into all this, and he goes into many, many stories. And this is the most intense podcast I've ever done. I've never been bombarded with stories for 5 hours, and that happened on this episode. So here is my conversation with Bong Steven from Cambodia. And yeah, my brain hurts. I need to I can't even really fucking think right now. It's the morning after. I'm hungover from this podcast. So let's get into it. This is SUPcast number 50 whatever. I'm Neil P, and yeah, I appreciate you attempting to give this some of your time, because there's a whole lot of time if you want to really get into it. So here's my conversation. A very long, a very disjointed and intense conversation with Mr. Bong Steven from Cambodia.
It's about 9 o'clock a.m. here in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Nice to talk with you, Neil.
Hey, what's up? Yo.
Good morning and good evening.
So we have about a 15-hour time difference?
Yes.
And how do you... So you're in Cambodia?
Correct. I've spent about the last 8 years here. And before this, I spent quite a few years in Thailand as well. So I would say that most of the last 15 years I've been in Asia. But now my more permanent place would be Cambodia. The stories I would like to tell you about do involve different countries around the area. I'll tell stories, some from Cambodia, some of the stuff from Thailand, some from even the country of Laos, and even Burma, which some people refer to as like Myanmar.
Cool.
So kind of just referring to like Southeast Asia also, so I'm not really targeting one specific area. I may refer to the cultural in general in this place, even though it's different from country to country. Think about it similarly as like the culture is similar from the USA to Canada, yet again, it can be very different also, even though very close and, same language, but it's definitely different cultures.
Where are you from? And I know the answer to this question, but I want you to tell the folks listening and or watching this program.
I'm originally from, I was born in Southfield, Michigan, and I spent time growing up in St. Clair Shores and Grosse Pointe. And then as I got sick of those places, I decided to go to Detroit and live from about 18 years old to I lived in Detroit for about maybe 8 years.
Now, what sort of hijinks did you get into in the Detroit area? Do you feel like going into any of those stories? Because I kind of
yes.
I kind of want to because you ended up in Southeast Asia, but how does a dude from Southeast Michigan end up in Southeast Asia? And you've been there for a long time, so I kind of want to hear like the history. Steve from Cambodia. How did you end up in Cambodia?
Well, it pretty much came down to St. Patrick's Day 2005. It was 15 years ago now. And I had a house in Detroit, a flop house, a party house, and it just so happened to burn down. And afterwards, when I was talking with the people and deciding what my options were, and my insurance adjuster, they're asking me where I wanted to live. I was thinking, I don't really want to rebuild this house in Detroit. I was thinking maybe I could go to Asia because I know that there's a lot of beautiful women there.
Well, good. Okay. So St. Patty's Day 05. I remember I actually like have a scar on my head from that day. Cuz we were playing in Toledo and I decided I was going to jump off of this chair into the ceiling of the downstairs venue. So it's the same it's the same venue where we had the guys' night excursion. When we saw Gil Mantera's Party Dream in that basement.
Right.
Yeah, so I remember, I wasn't with you St. Patty's Day 05, but I remember I have a scar to prove it. Harry Bob took me to the, there we go.
By the way, I'm drinking, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm drinking Cambodia beer. The cool thing about these beers is they have the old school pull tops. Check out the top. It doesn't have your normal, opener for a beer can. You see what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah.
So what you do is like, here's one of the ring pulls. So it's the pull. It goes on top. You got to open it up, and then you always have a chance to win a free beer. Like in this example, here's an example of a winner, and kind of hard to see, but it says one can.
So you won, dude.
No, this is one from before. The one I'm drinking right now was not a winner, so it will just either say thank you or like it will have nothing on it. But I have a bunch more Cambodia beers during our interview to drink, so I'm sure I should hit one. Usually it's about 1 in 3 or 1 in 4. I definitely plan on having more than that, so we should have a few winners.
So if you drink a case, you're going to get like 4 beers.
Right. So really when you buy a case, you're like buying a 30-pack or 28 beers anyways. Like guaranteed. Like they deliver, it's actually a good marketing plan because guess what? After your case is gone and you got like 4 winners, you go trade your 4 winners in and then you buy more. It keeps you constantly drinking.
It's genius marketing.
And they also make great for like tips. I'll give you a good example. I was at a large facility yesterday here, and there's this doorman, and he's got like the white gloves, and everyone's all worried about the virus right now. And he opens the door for me all proper. And, I just reached in my pocket and grabbed 2 of the winners that I happen to have in my pocket and tipped him, just put them in his hand. And he thought it was kind of weird, like, what is this? But then he looked and he knew that they were 2 free beers. So it's like a cool way to just hand 2 free beers to someone without having to have, cans in your pockets or bottles, in your backpack.
Yeah, and it's not terribly you're not taking up a lot of space, like you said. So,
and he wasn't offended by it. And like, I've always appreciated like people who are like doormen and like people that do these types of jobs, like, because it's like, man, these are the people who know everyone, but usually no one gives them respect. And it's like, they really like that. If you like, that's how I like to take care of people. And it's better than giving people cash money too, because cash is just like a bad vibe. But it's like, here's a free beer on me. And then he can go cash in the free beer tab and get his free beer. And it's like, here's a drink on me,
Yeah.
And he's at work, so in front of his superiors, he doesn't have to look like, wow, I'm handing you an actual beer in front of your boss. Here's one for later.
Yeah, you can
Even though he probably drank it on his lunch break,
You can be low key about it. Okay, so
right.
so 05, your house in Detroit burns down. The insurance adjuster is discussing plans for your future, and you decide, I'm going to go to Southeast Asia. Was that the year you went?
Yes, that was actually the first time, and I came here with two other friends, and that was the first time we actually came here, but I only came here for about 3 or 4 months. And I went to Thailand for 3 or 4 months, and I liked it, and it was all right. I didn't really have any work, so it can be expensive. And then came back to Michigan for a few years, and then I realized that I really didn't want to be in Michigan, and actually wanted to come out. And I was looking at places in Long Beach and thinking about coming out to the California area. And then I just said, fuck it, I'm just going to end up spending a lot of money here in Cali. And I'm going to end up in Asia anyway, because I love Asian women, and I knew it was my destiny.
Yeah, it is expensive out here, bro.
And I also didn't want to end up getting arrested or something, because, if you have a problem in America, they can always revoke your passport. And that sucks, because then you can't travel. Remember, traveling is a privilege. It's not a guaranteed right. That's why they can cut off traveling and start it for anybody. And if you've ever been convicted of anything, you can be restricted from traveling, and then you're stuck wherever you're at. And that's okay if you're in a good place, but if you're stuck in a bad place, you're stuck in a bad place.
Yeah, when I was 18, I definitely got put on probation for a possession charge, marijuana, when I was 18. But I actually went to Mexico while I was on probation, and I came back, and then I let my parents know that I got arrested before I went to Mexico, and I got in a lot of trouble. They were pissed. But yeah.
But they weren't aware, like the authorities weren't aware back in those days, though, were they?
They had no idea I went to Mexico.
Right. In these days, it's a lot more, they keep a lot better track of location of everybody.
Yeah, I assume with cell phones. Yeah. They know, man. They know.
So anyway, a lot of good stories to tell. Stories of, of wonderful success, and stories of wonderful blunders. And, sometimes the blunders can be better than successful stories, and vice versa. So I got a lot, and there's also a lot of things that I wish I could talk about during this interview, but we kind of had a little chat before we started, and I talked about the reasons why. And I plan on writing a book someday, but there's just some certain details that I really can't talk about. But I really wish I could, because most of the really good, rotten, nasty stuff, I can't really get into that much detail about. So if I avoid a question, or if I don't talk about something, I'm deliberately not. And it just sucks. But at one time, the story will be told,
It's okay. I totally understand, because there's things, my mom sometimes listens to this shit, I write some gnarly shit on social media, and she's like, what the fuck, Yeah.
Well, it's also for, keep in mind too, that even though I'm married here now legally in Cambodia, I also have a son, two sons. And keep in mind that when you're an immigrant too, there's different rules here. Like I can't, you can't speak out against certain people, and if there's real big deal with defamation here. A big part about like the Asian culture is losing face too. So like, don't really, if you go on Facebook and you criticize the powers to be, like you can totally be held responsible, and they can even throw you in jail for, criticism here, or just things that, they don't want to be talked about, I've known, a friend of mine, for example, wasn't a big deal, but he posted a video that was sensitive to powers to be, and he just got a message, and he was like, they were like, look, I'm this and this guy, and I know this and this person, personally, like high up, and you're going to delete that post, and we'll forget about it. He goes, okay, I'll delete it.
Yeah.
Should I piss in a bottle, or do you mind me going to the bathroom?
You can do whatever you want. I had a gentleman on this podcast, and he took the phone to the bathroom with him.
All right. Well, since I got it on the stand, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to just go take a quick piss.
Do your thing, man. We're rolling.
So anyway, to take it back. So like I said, just a few things I can't talk about, but I will definitely talk about the things that I've got plenty of great stories, especially from the D. I'll go into a little bit of like the beginning of being in America, and also stories from here, mix it up, go back and forth. A few funny stories for you that I think you haven't even heard about as well. We've had some interesting times together. I think the audience should know that we've known each other for a long time, and that we do have a relationship. So we've had a lot of shared memories together, but they've been so wild that we can't even recount all of them anyway. So it's good that we're discussing them.
Well, when you black out, sometimes things get a little hazy. And you know this.
Yes. Well, I mostly drink beer now. If I drink booze, I just get so stupid, and that's what causes blackouts. Like, if you eat enough and you drink beers, you can have a good, smooth evening night, or day or morning, whenever you choose to drink.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little less smooth when you're drinking booze. Like I've watched you like get on one knee and pound a handle of vodka, or you name it. Like I've seen you straight up like pound liquor, like John Belushi style. I've seen it.
Right. The whole trick to that, and I've pounded, I don't know how many fifths or liters, or the trick to it is I really don't have like a gag reflex. This isn't to talk about porn or anything else, but when I drink booze, I'm able to just open up the back of my throat and basically just pour it in, like avoiding the immediate shock of your body saying, what the fuck are you putting inside of here,
Is there footage on your YouTube channel of you ripping some booze? Isn't there?
Yes, my channel is Monkey Madness on YouTube. So if anyone wants to check out, my channel, or like the stories that I'm talking about, I'm not trying to advertise for it. I actually just got totally demonetized this week. So they no longer pay for any more of my videos because I've been deemed unworthy 100%. So I was only getting paid, a small amount, but I've had about 9 million views over the last 5 years or so. But my channel's been completely not banned, just demonetized.
That makes sense. They're trying to be real advertiser friendly these days.
Yeah, I understand that. It's more like Disney,
Yeah, and like your channel has a lot of intense stuff happening on it. Like, just describe what's on your channel real quick.
Just a little bit of everything from like growing up to, some party footage to some things happening here, but a lot of things like, for example, I've had 2 viral videos. I used to have a monkey on my farm here in Cambodia, and I gave him a beer, and I just posted the video up, and it got over 4.5 million views, or 4.2 million views. And eventually enough people complained about it and said it was animal abuse.
Yeah, that's why it's going to be tough for you to have a monetized channel, because they're getting way strict about that kind of stuff.
Right. So I understand in a way. But also, like, I did a really cool video where the monkey was actually bonding with one of the puppies at the farm and was grooming the puppy, and the monkey removes the fleas and actually eats them, and that one got over 4 million views also, and that one's still up, but they just demonetized my whole channel. I think it's also a way for them too to just cut out people and just cut expenses and make more money, because they originally banned the monkey drinking the beer video, and I understand, because that's, offensive to some people, but at the same time, a monkey that's grooming a puppy is not,
Yeah, it's wholesome.
Right.
But my question is, why is a monkey drinking beer not wholesome, is my question. Is it really animal abuse? Because how far away are we genetically from monkeys? We're pretty close, so.
Well, if you actually look into it, monkeys have actually been drinking alcohol for a long time, because in nature they find fermented fruit all the time, from coconuts to different types of fruits, and they get wasted all the time in nature.
Yeah, they're genetically predisposed to get loaded.
Right. And that was kind of fun. And actually, that first video I had, what wasn't actually my monkey, I was at a resort that had a monkey, and he was tied up on a chain. And I felt kind of bad for him, because I'm like looking at him, I'm like, man, homeboy needs a drink, he's just stuck there on a chain. Usually they put them on chains when they bite children, or they're like real bastardly, because everyone thinks like, oh, the cute monkey, and they want to come and pet it and play with it and hold it, and then the monkey just bites you and attacks you, and it's like, or they steal your cell phone, they steal your keys, and they'll run up in the tree. That sucks. They're not as pleasant as some people, especially the wild monkeys. Keep in mind, you can have like a nice Labrador puppy and raise it to be a great dog at your house. But if you take a wolf in from the wilderness, you're not going to have the same thing as the Labrador that you had since birth.
Yeah.
The monkey I did not raise since birth. And I think if I would have, it would be a lot nicer and not so wild.
Would it be bastardly, the monkey?
Well, monkeys are always bastardly, but it wouldn't be maybe so much biting or aggressive. Just like if you brought a wild dog into your home, you would kind of expect it to bite people out of fear or out of just, its natural instincts of like protecting itself. But if you raise a puppy yourself, even if it's a pit bull, and you take care of it and you show it love its whole life, they very rarely have problems,
Yeah, I used to dog sit for this my old roommate, and he rescued a puppy, and it's a fucking scary dog. The dog, I don't know if when he rescued the dog was a puppy, but eventually the dog is like full grown and just pissed off. And if you know the dog, he's cool. But if he doesn't know you, he'll fucking try and tear your face off. So
that's another thing. And with monkeys and dogs, they're very similar in protecting their closest, or whether you want to call them your owner or their best friend. They're very protective and territorial. Territorial, the same, just like a dog, where the monkey will run to the fence line and make sure that nobody gets by. So very territorial and like jealous of other people. Even my wife got a good story about that later. So let's start getting into some stories, because I think that'll be the most interesting part.
Yeah. Where do you want to start? Do you want, like, in Detroit?
Let's just start right from birth.
Got it.
I came into this world and I was separated from the placenta on the day of my birth, and I almost suffocated. And I think it caused some severe health. Well, I've had health problems most of my life, but right from day one, I entered this world in a state of pain, and it certainly had its effects on me. I'm about 6'5" tall, but I have severe issues with my health, digestion, a lot of things. I don't know if I've brought them upon myself. I've seeked out so much help, but I really haven't gotten like a very clear, definitive answer. But right from birth, I've just had issues is all I'm saying. And it's kind of, I'm trying to say is it's kind of motivated me in a interesting way.
How so?
I'll give you a good example. Like a lot of people don't know that G.G. Allin had Lyme disease, and he was really pissed off about his health, which was, I think, a big reason why he ended up rebelling. And, you know, like kind of portraying his pain and suffering out onto like the people was kind of a way for him to vent his frustrations and pain from the inside, you know. Another good example, G.G. Allin's kind of an extreme example, but another good example would be like most famous comedians are usually like have trouble with like addictions or pains mentally, physically, and they're the most funniest people in the world, and they usually die young because it's the smile of the clown, you know, like they're the funny guy, but inside there's so much pain. So their way to release that pain is to make other people laugh or give joy or bring something special to the world.
So you've been hurting this whole time? Is that what you're trying to say?
I would say I'm almost 40 years old. For 20 years of my life, I've been in pretty much, you know, constant pain. Mostly physical, and, you know, a little bit of mental because it kind of wears on you after 20 years.
Yeah. I feel that tears of a clown shit, man. Like people, I'm always being goofy and trying to make people smile and laugh, and you know, I'm kind of sad deep down, but I'm working on it.
That's how I think, though, that, like I said, some of the funniest, some of the most inspirational people have been able to make change in the world is by using that energy and just converting it and bringing out smiles in people helps them to manage their own situation in a way. It's not a selfish act. It's more like, I'm going to bring a good thing to the world, even though I'm not feeling well. I'm going to wake up today and I'm going to have a good day, no matter how I feel. It's not about me.
Yeah, man.
It can be very motivating. It really can be. Motivation comes from a lot of different places, but not enough places. Come from fear. It can come from, you know, anger. It can come from revenge. But when it comes from some deep down pain inside, and you can convert that to something and put smiles on people's faces, if you can bring the energy and the passion to people, that means a lot more. It's like, I'm not feeling well, but I'm having other people are having the best day of their life.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. And I know there are days where I'll be fucking borderline like suicidal and just like, I'm like, what, you know, what's the point of living? And then I'll like go online and play some music or like back when I used to do shows, you have a good show and you can tell that you're in real time, you're affecting people's mood. You're bringing up the mood of the room. And there's something very therapeutic about that and cathartic because like I'm angry about so many things. And when I get up on stage or when I perform, I'm able to get that energy out and people, you know, thank you for it. It's a good feeling. It makes sense.
The very first time I saw you live, I heard a lot about you. Obviously, we grew up like very close together, but we didn't really get to meet until, I don't know, around 20 years old or so, or even after that. And I'd heard a lot about you and your band, and I just thought, it's another local band, and I was, usually you don't think much of local bands because most of them, aren't worth seeing. But when I first saw you, all I could say was just like, when you brought the energy, I'll never forget one of your best lines. It's like, it feels like to be alive, like just bring that intensity and that emotion to those people. And you're right, you can relay that to the audience. And I thought afterwards, like, I need to meet this bloke, I need to meet this guy. Like, he's the real deal.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, yeah, there were stories of you, because we hung out with similar people, and they just kept saying, they referred to your house. Your house had a nickname, and there was all this debauchery, and there was a pig. I remember I went to see the band Bumpin' Uglies, the Detroit punk and wrestling band. And someone's like, there's a pig at this show. And I'm like, who the fuck would bring a pig to a punk rock show? Well,
we had to bring that pig. It was at the shelter. We had to bring it down the stairs. And let me tell you how hard it is. Not bring the pig down, but to get that thing back up, because it was at least 400 pounds at the time.
What was the pig's name?
Nips.
Nips.
As in nipples. Nips. Nips the pig. And she could drink like unbelievable amounts of booze. And we brought her into the shelter. The Bumpin' Uglies actually asked me, and if Bubba ends up watching this, what's up, Felix Brothers? He asked me, he was like, can you bring the pig for the show? And like, can he chug a 40 on stage? And I'm like, we can try. He can drink a 40, and it worked out. We got him down there. The bouncers helped out. We kind of talked to everyone before, because we were like, we got this 400-pound hog in the back of my van, and we had to let everybody know. And I think we tipped the bouncers a little bit, and brought the pig right inside up on stage, and he hammered that whole 40 of booze, and everyone was just blown away.
Yeah, because the Felix brothers, they definitely knew the security and stuff down to St. Andrews. I think they might have worked at St. Andrews at the time, so they
were the security wherever they played.
Yeah. Those are two dudes that you don't want to fuck with, man.
No, even at the Magic Stick, and the Majestic, especially, oh man, some of their shows, if anyone got out of line, their whole thing with the wrestling and stuff was we're going to do our show, but if you get in our way, you're going to get fucking thrown around too, because it's this is our show, and people would always fuck off at their shows. And I don't know why, because you've got these two giant people throwing each other around. Why do you want to make a problem with them, right? And so many people got thrown down the stairs at the Magic Stick. I can't even count during their shows. Just Jazzy Jeff, the 1, 2, 3, and it would be why do these people make problems? But it would be they try to get involved in the show while they were doing a wrestling thing, and they would get pissed off, of course, because it's this is a show, and someone would try to get involved or throw a punch or do something stupid,
I had an old band member that tried, so the guys, while they're playing their set, they start wrestling and kicking the shit out of each other, mid-set. They're playing punk rock, then the havoc starts. They just start beating each other, bleeding, and it gets real violent, And then, so I had a buddy, and this was at the Magic Stick. He actually tried pouring beer on one of the guys while he was he was knocked out. And you just don't do that.
Right.
So I think he got fucked up that night. I think the Bumpin' Uglies fucked him up because they poured beer during the wrestling portion of the show.
Yeah, that's first of all, waste of alcohol and a bad idea. Just in general, a bad idea. When beers are $5 and they're doing their show and you pour a beer on someone and these guys happen to be 3 times your size, and then all of a sudden you find yourself being thrown down the fucking stairs. Yeah. Damn it. All right, I gotta grab a beer.
That's some, and that's some Detroit punk shit.
So here is a pull tab. Here's the top of it. The old school. These are like in the 1970s and 80s, but they were too dangerous in America, so they stopped issuing them because they can cut. It's sharp when you open it.
It's aluminum, right?
Sure, but it's a pop.
Yeah, it's real thin aluminum that you could like.
Here,
Slit your wrist with
finger
it.
There. Pop it, and then just pull it forward. And now you check to see if you're a winner.
Did you win?
And what do we got? Yes. Yeah, we got something here.
I can't see it.
Kind of hard to see with the focus. And it's in Cambodia. It says one kapong, which means one free beer.
Yeah.
With this company, they won't write anything on there. So just if there's a writing, I knew that it was a winner. So I just won a free beer.
Congrats, dude.
And here's to everyone. This place is cool for offering beer prizes. I once won $50, by the way, on a fucking beer. They also offer money prizes, and I won $50 off drinking a can of beer.
Hell yeah!
And it was in the morning, and my wife was upset with me, and I was like, I had the alcohol shakes a little bit, and I was like, man, I got to go get like 10 beers or something. I'm at my farm in the bush, and I go up to the local store. The wife's upset, and I get 10 beers. They're about 50 cents each, so it's $5. I get back, and I pound one, and I win $50. And then the wife wasn't mad anymore.
Well, yeah, because $50 goes a long way in Cambodia, right?
Right, and keep in mind too, like you're not playing the lottery; you're paying for a 50-cent beer. So you're already getting your 50-cent beer, okay? And usually beers in other places are a lot more expensive. Like if you're in Australia or Singapore or all these expensive cities in the world, you can pay up to $8, $9, $10, $12 for one beer anyways. Here you're only paying 50 cents, and it's also like you're playing like you get a free chance at the lottery. I've won a case of beer before, $10. It's a good feeling while you're drinking to like win something. It's a competition every time you open a can. I think it's a great marketing scheme also. Not in a bad way.
Yeah. Well, it's that same dopamine rush you get, gambling,
Or like a scratch-off ticket every time you grab a beer.
It sounds addicting in multiple ways.
But it's not just with beers here. It's with Red Bull. Red Bull originally comes from Thailand, but they have different forms of Red Bull here. The Red Bull and the other companies that offer like the energy drinks, they all do promotions and offer giveaways too. So not just with alcohol is what I'm saying. Just about any can here, even with, you can buy like icy hot Tiger Balm, and they even have scratch offs on them to have a chance to win.
Tiger Balm's the best, man.
Oh, it's used with everything here.
So everyone's just smelling mentholated as fuck over in Cambodia.
Right.
Good.
But they're very, 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 very clean people. Some of them shower up to 3 times a day.
Oh, wow.
And if you compare that with the culture in America where you maybe take one or maybe even skip a day once in a while, that would be unheard of here. If you skip a shower for one day, the people here are just like, oh my God, that's terrible, And it's not even always about like soaping and lathering 3 times and drying out your skin. Because if you took 3 showers and used a lot of chemicals, that would actually harm your skin. It's just like the water and getting the sweat off. But keep in mind that the average temperature here is, in the 90s, can go up to 110 degrees.
Yeah.
So you're talking about changing your shirt 3 times a day. And usually I like to take 1 shower a day. And if I don't, like everyone around me is just like completely upset. I also don't use deodorant anymore because I have a high aluminum toxicity in my body. So, and to avoid, there's a lot of aluminum that's in just regular like roll-on deodorants. And what that aluminum does is block your pores, but it also causes a lot of health problems. So what I use is when you shower, scrub your pits up real good. And then I just use natural limes and just cut a piece off of a lime and then just scrub your pits afterwards. Deodorant, use like a natural lime or a lemon, and then you don't get any smell for the day.
Oh, wow. I should give that a try. I use aluminum. I mean, they have like hippie kind of deodorant out here where it's aluminum free, and I've been using that for some time now. But yeah, definitely since the fucking pandemic happened, I haven't been showering as much as I should, and yeah, I probably should be showering more. Definitely.
But limes work well, and you only need like one lime can be like 5 days. Just cut a small slice off of it. You don't want to put a large amount of lime or lemon juice because it's very acidic in your pits and leave it for too long. Just do it for like a minute and then wash it off, or like a half a minute and wash it off, or else it can burn. But it's killing all that bacteria inside your pits, which is good. Then you don't smell for the day. I don't have access to, things like non-aluminum deodorants and stuff here.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, hey, let's go back to Detroit, okay? So you got a party house. You're bringing pigs to punk rock concerts. You're chugging a lot of booze. And then how did that extend outside of just your house? Because you used to throw these big house parties, right? When did it get bigger? When did the stakes get higher?
Well, basically, just to explain, first of all, I will answer your question, but to explain how it got there to begin with. Growing up, in the suburbs, with a lot of rules and authority. We'll talk a little bit about astrology later. We both happen to be Aquarius, of course. I think I'm a few days older than you, actually. My birthday is January 26th of 1981. And aren't you like a week later?
February 2nd, 1981.
Okay.
Yep.
So
you and I are getting close to the big 4-0 here.
Right. We're both Aquarius monkeys. But since I'm a week older than you, in this culture, you would have to show not more respect, but a different type of respect to me since I'm older than you. It's all about like a hierarchy of who's older than you, and you have to dress them as, uncle, older brother, younger brother. Very important here. And you wouldn't think that like in a developing country, respect would be very important, but it really, really is. So what's interesting about the Cambodian language is if someone's older than you, I would call, since you're younger, I would say to you, Paon, okay? And I would say Paon. But since I'm 1 week older than you, you would have to show me more respect just because I'm older than you and I have more experience in this world, and you would actually call me, which translates in their language, bong.
Bong.
As in, a smoking bong, pronounced exactly the same.
Bong.
So I would be Bong Steven.
Bong Steven.
So in the future, can you please, during this interview, refer to me as Bong Steven?
Sure. I'll try my best, dude. Bong Steven.
And you would be Paon, but they don't actually even use names here very often. It would just be Bong or Paon, or it's auntie or uncle, or it's brother or sister or cousin, which can be very similar to like the African American community where they use a lot of those same things, even though they're not directly related. That's how you address people here. Addressing people by their name is actually impolite.
Oh, okay.
One time I asked my wife if I could ask her mother, use her mother's name in front of her, and she's like, please don't ever do that.
Oh, wow.
you refer to her as mom, and please never use her name. Which kind of makes sense too, because think about it. If you were at your girlfriend's family's house and you talk to her mom or dad, if you use their real name, that would be okay in America. But if you call them mom or dad, they would really like that too.
Yeah, I totally get that.
So anyways, I wanted you to know that just because I thought you'd think it's funny. Like, so if we were like both together in Cambodia, which I hope someday we are.
And yeah, after this COVID shit, yeah, definitely. I want to make that happen.
Especially for my wedding party, like, God, that would be legendary. But here you would just refer to me as Bong all the time. And then you'd be like, Bong, Bong. And you can't forget Bong,
Yeah,
and I would be like, okay.
Bong.
I don't mind the name Bong.
Yeah, it's tight.
So anyway, back to interesting point I want to make. Here's a connection between GGL and you and me, is that we're all three of us are all Aquarius monkeys, by the way. So that kind of gives us that sense of like, we don't really like authority, or not that we don't like authority, or have like a bad intentions, but we don't like rules, for example, and we kind of choose our own paths in life, and we're very unique individuals in that we deliberately go down our own path. Sometimes walk the separate way just to be different, but that's a big reason why. Like, for example, Gigi Allen was so against authority, because that's Aquarius is individual, anti-authority, individual thought, and you add the monkey into it with it, and the monkey just creates the ultimate character and individual that is just firing off at all cylinders and smart. Keep in mind, what Gigi Allen did was brilliant. I'm not saying he's someone I admire especially, but I do appreciate a lot of the things that he's done just to tear down the walls, meaning like with rules and society. A lot of the things he did were right. I don't approve of a lot of the other things that he's done especially, but like just to say fuck authority and fuck the rules, and not so much fuck it, but just re-examine it and let's figure out new ways and better ways is the way I like to interpret it.
Yeah, for
the
sure.
The world needs change right now, and it's going to be the Aquarius that does it. That's what I'm trying to say. But it's not so much about fuck authority, fuck the rules. It's more like we need to change the rules, but how are we going to do it and actually be successful? Gandhi style. Gandhi was the one who actually changed the rules. He's someone who I do admire and am very, very respectful for, because he wasn't out there saying fuck you to everybody. He was out there actually living the life and changing the rules everywhere he went and doing it peacefully on top of it.
Yeah, he was a little bit more tactful in his approach than Gigi Allen, one could say.
Than shitting and throwing feces on the crowd. But what I'm saying is that's the strange connection we have in between us three, okay? And these are the things I do study. With astrology, I'm not here to talk about astrology too much more, but I just want to let everybody know who does watch this, that I've studied astrology for 23 years. I'm almost 40 years old. Anything that you study for 23 years, you happen to have some knowledge behind it. It's the one thing in my life out of anything that I've ever studied that I will take to my death knowing it actually exists, and the trends and the patterns are completely undeniable. And that's my own opinion, but that's the one thing I would take to death. And if I was dying on the streets and I had 2 years to teach, I would teach astrology.
Fair enough.
But only to people who are willing to listen. And the idea of astrology to most people is opening up a newspaper and looking at what they should be for the week, when that's just bullshit. I'm talking about the concrete foundations that have been studied for thousands and thousands of years and used by some of the most successful, famous people in history, including up-to-date people, and not just politicians and successful people, but doctors, treat health, to treat, all types of issues. Astrology is the basis of the world, and it's all I can say is it's the most important, inspirational thing, and the only thing that I've found in this life to actually be truthful.
It's wild because I'm a skeptic of sorts, but I am also very open to there being things beyond my understanding. And one time I was in San Diego, and we went to this flop house with my buddy who was on tour with us, and he called this woman the Oracle, and she, based on like the time and the day I was born, she hand wrote on a bunch of pieces of loose leaf paper. She hand wrote this analysis of my personality based on my rising signs, and it was so fucking accurate as to like she was able to I never met this person before. She was able to boil down all of these really exact things about my personality just based on my rising sign. And when I read all of that, I was just like, holy shit, like there's something to this. Like I always thought horoscopes were bullshit, but when I read that shit from the Oracle in San Diego, it kind of made me just be like, okay, well, she's on some shit that I have no idea how she got all this information. But she basically wrote like a fucking 14-page little novel about me with only knowing my birthday and the day I was born and the time I was born. So.
Right. I'm definitely not here to do this to like try to convince anyone.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that if you study it for long enough and you find the trends and patterns, it's quite amazing. And it can also help. Like, for example, my mom runs she does hiring sometimes, and she'll give me applications of people, and just not the application, just tell me their birthdays. I look at the compatibilities between, the person and the people that they have to work with. And I actually help her hire people based on their birthday, because I already can look in the book and see where their signs are and whether they're, compatible or not. And this isn't about relationships either. This isn't about love. This is about whether they can work well together. When I've run businesses in the past, all I do is ask for people's birthday. I don't care about your education. I don't care if you've got a master's degree. I would prefer you don't, because then you're just, in my opinion, harder to work together with. I would rather just know your birthday, because then I can know just about not everything, but whether we can work together or not.
What's funny too is you and I, over the years, even after you left the country, we would talk on the phone, and like I would be in a new relationship like every couple years, 3 years, and you'd always be like, "When's their birthday?" Because like you and I were both born, we're both Aquarius monkeys, so you already know what I am. And then I would tell you, my new girlfriend at the time's birthday, and you would say, "I don't know about that one," and you would say, "I don't know about that one." But I've been in a relationship for 3 years, and like my girlfriend right now and I are very compatible. And she just walked in. But
hello.
But this is Steven.
Hey.
Hello from Cambodia.
That's Allie. He says hello from Cambodia.
Hello, Allie.
But I remember when I told you her birthday, you said, "Hey, this is one that you're going to be more compatible with than any of the others." You gave me that bit of knowledge, and we get along pretty damn well. So we're doing it. We've lived in the same 1-bedroom apartment for the last 9 months, and we haven't killed each other yet. So
that's good.
It is good. It is good.
Speaking of living in small places, it's better than living in a shipping container.
Yeah. Let's get to that. But let's go into the parties. Then,
all right.
Because I want to hear some stories about the parties before we get into the Southeast Asia stuff.
All right, but basically right. So basically, going through high school, I definitely was rebelling from the beginning. I wasn't I wasn't happy with the way that the system worked, but I wanted to do something positive about it. Too many people get upset these days, and like you hear about these school shootings and stuff that happen. That's all bullshit. Like, if you want to do something, like be the change, like Gandhi says that you want it to be. And I always thought, like, growing up, I wanted to do something that was going to like be passion and to make a change and not do something negative, because you can't fight negative with negative shit. It's like you throw a rock at me, I throw a rock at you, and what have we accomplished? Like eye for an eye is bullshit. But I grew up under the sense of I am going to bring the fire and the passion to this world, and I'm going to bring an intensity and tear down every single wall that's ever been taught to me. And I'm not talking about rape or anything, of these magnitudes, but everything that was told to me, and just say, fuck it, let's go and have some fun. And all the rules and everything that we've ever been told and been molded since a child of what to do, and just fucking do it. And
hell yeah.
In high school, I got picked on a lot, of course. And I was the guy that used to write down everyone's name who picked on me. And what I would do, and I'm not a psycho, but I had a BB gun, and what I would do is drive around at night and just shoot out their windows during the night. Every single person who ever picked on me in high school, I would just shoot out their car windows parked on the street at night. And, that's $150 to replace that window. And I had a list and just crossing off names.
Oh, man.
Not an AK-47. I'm talking about an air gun and just shooting out windows. Like, if people fucked with me, you made the list. And one time the list was up to like 30 people. And I was like, I got to slow down here,
It's a little less nefarious than, the Columbine kids. It's a little more playful than that.
But no, they were going to pay for it. So like, you insulted me, you were going to pay $150 to pay for your window to get fixed. It was just the bottom line. Like, if you went out of your way, I would go out of my way. Anyways, I shot out so many windows, and I got in so many fights. I've probably been in 30 fights in my life, and I'm a tall, skinny guy, but I can throw my hands around, and I'm very coordinated. And I've always stuck up for myself, and also for my friends too, mostly. Most of my issues I've been sticking up for my friends anyway for most of my life. But anyway, so growing out of high school, just this rage of like energy, leading into Detroit parties. Like the first thing I like towards like the rebellion stage was like after I actually got kicked out of high school the day I got graduated. I got expelled. So I'm sitting in the principal's office, and I'm like, this is the last day. It was the ceremony, not to walk across the stage, but it was the last day. And he's like, you're expelled. And I'm like, well, school's over today. I'm done. I'm 18 years old. I finished. I graduated. By the way, I was valedictorian my freshman year. I had over a 4.0 out of 500 students. But after drinking beer over the next few years, I kind of dropped off a little bit on that. But I was valedictorian. There's a lot of brains behind the madness. So anyway, the idea is to get this party house in Detroit. So we'll just refer to this gentleman as a Canadian. Good drinking buddy of mine, not just good drinking buddy. He happens to be the godfather of my son also. We wanted to rent a house in Detroit. Why? So we could just throw keg parties and just have fun and not be bothered by authorities. That was the first thing, just like we could like play music, have shows, and just do what we wanted and not be like in suburbia, stuck in this trap of just rules and just constant authority. And, if you turn your music up too loud, they show up and blah, blah, blah. So that's how the parties got started.
I feel like back then in Detroit, you could do whatever the fuck you wanted to do and not really worry about the law getting involved. Like, I don't know if you remember, like, the Theater Bazaar parties. That was in a couple vacant lots. near the state fairgrounds and
people's homes too.
Yeah,
people's homes. They lived close to there too.
Yeah, and I assume you had neighbors, but what was the most amount of people you had in your backyard?
Well, the biggest party we ever had would put a Snoop Dogg video to shame. Was at least 650 people, because at least 650 people paid $15 to get in, because I woke up with a duffel bag under my head with over $9,000 in it, and I pissed the bed.
Oh, I love those stories.
And I woke up with a duffel bag of $9,000 under my head in small bills, dollars, fives, tens. That's a big bag. $10,000 in small bills. And all I did was just wake up covered in piss, took off my yellow suit that I was wearing, and just poured $10,000 in small bills across my floor and just rolled around in it naked.
I remember those days.
It cost $3,000 to throw the party, so there was about a $6,000 whole profit. But this was after 21 barrels of Labatt's. This was 3 strippers. The owner of Braised Burgers came and grilled 500 free burgers for people. Not free, but it was included in the $15. So you got all-you-can-eat sliders and all-you-could-drink beer, 21 kegs. And they were gone by midnight. 650 people. It was like a Pantera concert. By midnight, by half past midnight, it was like a Pantera concert, and it was starting to become like a riot in my backyard, where like we had a privacy fence up, and there were so many people. It was like at a show where, they like at the shelter, they only allow maybe 200 or 300 people. If you were to put 1,000 people in the shelter, it would get very uncomfortable, and there would be problems with health, fights. You know what I'm saying? Like, we jammed so many people into the backyard that we were like, anyone who fucked around, we had the security guys lifting them up by their belts and tossing them over the fence so we could get someone else to pay to come in. Anybody who fucked around was just thrown over the fence. And 21 kegs were gone at 12:30 midnight. It was complete chaos. Boxing ring in the backyard. Sliders. The fights were always the best. It was the ring from the Felix brothers. We didn't do wrestling. We just did drunken boxing. And the women got involved too. And at the beginning of the night, nobody would want to throw down. But, after 10 or 15 beers, there would be a lineup to get in the ring. And then everybody wants to fight after a few beers. But the philosophy of this it was like controlling the testosterone and that like urge. If you're going to have a 21 keg party, think about that, Neil. Like, there's going to be a fight, or there's going to be some badass that tries to fuck up your party by starting a fight or making a problem. Philosophy was, if you want to fight at my party, you get in the fucking ring.
Just like a Guns N' Roses song.
Well, it was like, you're upset over this girl, or fuck you, motherfucker, bitch, all this, white trash talk. Like, all right, you guys are mad at each other. Well, why don't you just get in the boxing ring instead? Because then you don't have to ruin everyone else's good time at the party. Because whenever there's a fight, people start throwing each other around, and it destroys the party. You weren't going to ruin the vibe. You were to contribute to it and get in the ring. And most of them were the biggest pussies that wanted to start real fights outside of the ring. Were the ones that would get in the ring and they would only last 2 minutes and be completely fucking gassed afterwards. And just laying on the ground afterwards, completely out of energy and totally fucked. And it was like, great. Now you can't cause a fucking problem anymore.
Yeah, you're too tired to fuck up the party.
Right.
Yeah. That's smart, actually, because, I can't tell you, when in the early stages of my band in Detroit, all we did is play parties. And there would, 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, there would be a fight and it would ruin the mood. But this way, it's all that energy gets taken out in the ring. I love that. It's a good move. Good move.
The whole inspiration of doing boxing matches with keg parties was, okay, if you get this amount of beer, and I'm talking about thousands and thousands of beers.
Thousands.
21 kegs, I don't even know how many beers that equates to, but way too many. There's going to be a fight, like you said, even at a party. So just go in the ring and don't ruin everyone else's night. And then people will love it. You get up in the ring and it's actually like a fair thing and have a referee in there. And usually it was, the plumber or the Canadian in there, and they would make sure that, it didn't get out of line. And sometimes people would get out of line in the ring, and then we'd have to remove them from the party. And that got interesting, but very rarely, only I would say 3% of the time, did we ever have any problems with anyone who after they fought, because they were just out of energy. They couldn't even hold their arms up to fight anymore. Boxing is like the best exercise in the world, and it gasses you. Like if you watch a championship fight that goes 13, 15 rounds, you got to be kidding me. It's like the ultimate cardio energy test for your body. And usually after people fight for 30 seconds, they're already done.
Yeah, the amount of conditioning involved in something like, actual Greco-Roman wrestling or MMA or any sort of combat sport, it's conditioning to the nth degree. We used to condition for like football. Like I played football in high school, but it's like little bursts of energy, every play is like 10 seconds to 30 seconds,
Right, but at least usually you'd play like defense or offense, and you'd have times to like sit down.
Exactly.
So the offense is on the field and the defense, but when you're boxing, your defense is getting punched in the face if your defense isn't good.
Yeah.
And your offense is the only way that you won't get punched in the face.
This is true. You're the defense and the offense the whole time.
Right, and it goes until the last, until one man falls to the ground. So anyway, the boxing definitely added, and people came from miles away just to see the fights. And drunken boxing, I'll tell you, is the best because there's the biggest misses and there's the biggest hits, the biggest knockouts and the biggest misses. People are just whiffing, and there's other people that are connecting. And so I'm saying there's bigger openings. And it's not like watching a boring, like lightweight sparring match, where people are just trying to be all strategic. It's like, all right, motherfucker, this is going to be on and it's going to be over quick.
Hell yeah. So when did you decide to start taking? Because they were legendary parties. Like I would hear about these parties and never went to one. I did go to the house before, but I never went to one of your parties. Because by the time you and I met, you took the party to like legitimate venues, and you upped the stakes, you upped the ante, and you upped the showmanship, one would say.
Right, but I can honestly say that I appreciated the old school times much more because it was no holds barred. It was anything goes. It was more real, and it was more like the vibe of. You mentioned what was the name? I'm sorry of the other guys that used to do not the back, but the Halloween party every year.
Theater Bazaar.
Theater Bazaar. I'm sorry. They had the same realness when it was in their backyards. It was real. When they try to bring it to a state legitimate theater, it just doesn't have the same vibe. When it was at my house, it was anything goes. And I actually owned the house in one of mine in Detroit, which was nice because I could never get evicted. And when I talked about the 21 keg party, I actually had to buy 22 kegs because one of the kegs I gave to was for the chief of police of that district. through the beer guy, because the supplier, I was buying so much beer at the time that at my house we drank more beer than all of the local bars combined. And I said, why can't you just bring like the Labatt's truck, the semi, right to my house to deliver the kegs? And they were like, that's illegal. We have to take it to a store first and then to your house.
Yeah, the middleman.
So anyways, it started off with the first Detroit house with the Canadian, and things got pretty wild there, and it just got kind of bigger every time. Like, we got more creative and we learned a lot, and the house party became bigger. I was motivated by like the Beastie Boys, like, you got to fight for your right to party, but that kind of sums it up. Like, your party sucks, and you're going to get a beer poured on your head if you show up and act like a sissy at one of these parties. This is anything goes. We don't care what color you are, how you come, is just as long as you come real, And even if you want to be a prick, that's fine here, because you can fight or you're going to get beat anyways.
You're gonna get beat anyways.
But in a good way, like I said, in the ring, not in a fucking, not going to like a jock style party at like a cheesy college campus where it's like, fuck you, freak. This was like, bring the freaks. We want the freaks, the weirdos, the sissies, the fucking tough guys, the non-tough guys. Bring whatever the fuck you got, bring your best energy and bring it to the table and see what you can do here. And I think a lot of people got shamed, and I think a lot of people got notoriety that they never thought that they knew, because it was something special of just bringing people together. And they had that same feeling, like you said, of being like a stage. And it was my job to be that guy, even though we didn't have a stage, to organize that and make it happen, to bring all that energy together and create a special night, create one of the best nights of someone's life, to bring them almost out of their normal element and get them that special feeling that's inside, that's like, wow, I'm alive.
That's a great feeling. And if you can be kind of the ringleader of that, or the organizer of it, it can be really rewarding, just knowing that, man, you help someone escape for a brief moment in time from their regular boring ass fucking life,
Absolutely. And even though, unfortunately, it is an escape temporarily, it's still something that people can look back on for years. And it's been 20 years, and I still get people that are like, wow, I had the best night of my life. And when someone tells you that, you can't pay for that, I mean, right now you can take like $5,000 and try to go and have the best night of your life, but it might not end up that way, no matter what you do, where you go, whether you're in a limousine, whether you're in a, whatever, on a moped. To bring that special passion, and it's like a gift into someone's soul that they'll never, ever forget the rest of their life, is a special feeling.
Yeah, man. I feel that.
And I know you've given it too. I saw it from the first time I saw you perform. I could see that. And that's when I was like, we need to talk about something.
Yeah. And what's cool is, even to this day, I'll get like YouTube comments from people that saw us 15 years ago, saw my band, and they're like, yo, like that shit back in 2012 or whatever. Like it was best show I've ever seen type shit. And, I don't get those comments all the time, but it makes, because I didn't make a whole bunch of money. I'm not like successful by any means, like as far as conventional success. But dude, according to a bunch of people, I help them have a good time, and that's worth something,
You've absolutely done it for me, and I've seen it, and I've felt it deep down inside. So I'm just glad to be a witness, and I'm glad to be able to see it. So I do exactly understand, and I'm glad to have been a witness.
Well, yeah, and then we started doing shit together.
Right.
We kind of.
I gotta get another beer, and we'll get into that.
Yeah. We kind of got sponsored. Oh, we need to talk about that too. There's gonna be a lot. Do you know that in the States that the whole Karen thing, like being a Karen, it's like a well-to-do white woman. There you go.
Sorry to cut you off, but look what we got here. We got another winner, one beer.
There you go.
There's 2 in a row.
But
all right, sorry.
But when you and I actually met, you had this T-shirt company, like because besides the parties, you were like an entrepreneur of sorts. You started this T-shirt company, and we're making a bunch of noise selling these really offensive T-shirts. And the one that made the most noise was a T-shirt that just said, "I am sick and tired of whitegirls.com." Did you come up with that?
Yes.
And so in the States now, there's a whole thing with Karens, like don't be a Karen. Like a Karen is a well-to-do white woman that let me see your manager. And I feel like in the same vein, I'm sick and tired of whitegirls.com was just kind of like the proto Karen thing.
Are you talking about this shirt right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So yeah, you went from party promoter to entrepreneur. I mean, but you just being a party promoter, you were an entrepreneur. But then you started getting into apparel, and explain kind of the trajectory of that whole journey.
I was always an entertainer, but I didn't give a fuck about money. And that was actually one of my problems because I never managed money well. And I did sell things, and I did always try to hustle, and I always tried to make money. But when it came down to it, it was all about entertainment. And the money was just a tool to get me from one place to the next. And unfortunately, if I would have managed things better, I think that I could have made a very, very successful, quote unquote, large business, but I wasn't interested in that. I was interested in giving the best experience and not giving a fuck about money.
Same thing with me, man.
But that's not such a good thing because I ran out so many times, and then once you run out and you're busted, and like I've thrown a party that cost $40,000 before. How much did I pull in at the door? 5. So I lost $35,000 in one night.
Which one was that?
The first Pimps and Hoes party. Then I find myself having to work 3 jobs for the next fucking year just for one night of glory. That's, like I said, the back end of it. But, I needed to have a symphony orchestra. I needed to have a harpist at the door. I needed to have DJ Jazzy Jeff playing upstairs. I needed to have gangster rap with symphony orchestra. It always needed to be the best, and I didn't care about money at the time. So that was actually the backyard parties were better. Once I went commercial, I spent way too much money. But I always wanted it. It was always about entertainment. And I'll tell you what, all the people who helped or invested in the parties to come up with this, and all I can say is, these people would gladly give that same money at age 40 to live that one night over again. For any party that wasn't successful monetarily wise, that's all I can say.
Well, those are some of the most memorable nights I've ever had. I remember we got a limo and we went to go pick up Ron Jeremy at the airport, and the next thing I know, we're going to all these different radio stations, and Ron Jeremy's doing all these radio interviews, and I'm just kind of along for the ride because you guys, I mean, you hired DJ Jazzy Jeff, you hired Ron Jeremy, you got Tabitha Stevens, the porn star, and the dude from the Bunny Ranch out in Reno, Nevada. You flew these people in and just brought them into the insanity.
It was always trying to bring the noise. The one person who screwed me, and I'll say this right online, is Slick Rick. But at the time, he was going through a lot of legal stuff with his citizenship, and I understand that. But one of the parties we were supposed to have Slick Rick, and he didn't just cancel on me. He didn't give me any advance notice, and I paid for like 4 plane tickets and never refunded my money or anything. So Slick Rick has actually fucked me pretty good, and I'm still not happy about that.
Damn.
Anyway, it's in the past. And he was going through a lot of legal issues at the time. But come on, I'm just a buttlug with a Detroit house, and I don't have much money to cover that. And they never even refunded the plane tickets or told me that, like, he was in jail. So I had to get DJ Jazzy Jeff because Slick Rick was in jail, but MTV didn't even announce that to 2 weeks later. So being a promoter, I've been advertising for Slick Rick for 3 months. And if he doesn't show up, then I lose face. So I had to get DJ Jazzy Jeff at the last minute. I booked him 2 days before that party.
Oh, wow.
And got a pretty good price because he knew he was a replacement act and he was boys with, or a part of the network. They cover for each other. And the time Ron canceled, that's why he sent his buddy out too. These big time performers, they cover for each other. But this was different. Like, if I would have known he was in jail, I just wish it was on the fucking news because I had to take the fucking shit for it, you know? I wasn't going to show up without saying what I was going to do. If I said I was going to do something, I was going to fucking do it, and I did it. I didn't care about the money. And that was part of not the downfall, just the reason why I wasn't successful monetarily.
Well, I would say it's the same thing for me, man, because I toured for so many years, just thinking that, hey, this is going to grow, you know? Like, I have faith in my ability to perform, and my band is interesting, and my band it's gonna grow. But it really didn't grow the way I wanted it to, so I ended up just spending years and years and years just doing the same thing over and over again and not seeing much like monetary compensation for it. But I was so in love with the idea, you know, I fell in love with doing this shit in the late 90s with just like giving people the time of their lives. And I'm like, this is a noble thing. So fuck the money. I'm going to keep doing it because I find nobility in it, you know?
I 100% agree. I couldn't say it better.
But, you know, if just because something you consider it to be noble, it doesn't necessarily mean it's, you know, smart business.
Yeah, it's not paying the bills afterwards.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into some blunder stories, please.
Define blunder for the audience.
A blunder it's either a deliberate or non-intentional act of, you know, a fall down, a mishap, or it can even be planned. But it's, you know, it's a mistake. But it can be something that's funny. It can be very shameful when it happens. But 10 years later, it might be really funny, you know, when you're talking about it on a podcast like we are now. Because like I said, if you can make people laugh out of your pain and suffering, then it helps heal the mistakes that were made. And I'm not saying they're mistakes especially, but just crazy, weird fucking shit.
Yeah, I haven't really gone into many blunders on this podcast, and I've been doing it this is episode 50 something, you know? So
all right, I want to talk about falling downstairs. I want to talk about a lot of different things. First of all, just kind of going, I guess, in some type of order, and we can always change this afterwards anyway, since you'll be editing it. But from my first party house, the House of Beer, the craziest night we had there involved a very unique situation where the Canadian was on a roll. He was pretty juiced up. And you happen to know JP from Projectile Vomit?
Is that a band?
Yeah.
I do know that guy, but I mean, I knew him like 20 years ago.
All right. He was always a cool dude. We had a lot of good times together, but he was like really depressed that night, and he kept talking about like how he wanted to kill himself and this and that. And finally the Canadian just looked at him and he's like, all right, man, if you really want to kill yourself, then why don't you just fucking do it?
Oh,
and
wow.
He's like, the Canadian called him out straight up.
Oh, wow.
So he was like, yeah, whatever. Everyone was drunk, blah, blah, blah at the party. There was other people around. But it was late night. This was in Detroit. So the Canadian continues to go inside of his van and pull out a large construction cord out from the back of his van and fancy up a noose.
Oh, geez. Oh, man. Oh, no.
And on our fucking front lawn in the tree, he fancies up the noose from the electrical cord. And he says, all right, you want to kill yourself? I'll hang you. And he was like, no, dude, I was just, kidding, whatever he said. Out of nowhere, another one of my friends says, I want to get hanged. Canadian says, sure, I'll hang you. So he nooses up it's like the orange electrical cord, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, the long construction cord.
And for some reason, he knows exactly how to make a noose, which I don't even know how to.
He's a crafty guy.
And one of my other friends volunteers and is like, I want to be hanged. You know how people like asphyxiate themselves to get high, but they don't die?
Yeah, autoerotic asphyxiation.
It was kind of like that, but it was more of a drunken moment, and there was a lot of people objecting to it. But the Canadian was in full force at this time, okay? And when the Canadian's in full force, he's in full fucking force. So the first volunteer gets up and strings him up in the tree, puts the noose around his neck, pulls the cord, hangs him. As soon as he goes out, like the legs start twitching, kicking back and forth. Boom, he's out, and the Canadian lets the cord go, and he hits the ground, out cold.
Oh, man.
Imagine if a police officer, even in Detroit, happened to see a lynching in the front yard going down at a fucking party.
That's terrible.
And I'm talking about like when there's a cord wrapped around your neck and you're holding on to it and you're kicking the legs, try to avoid the asphyxiation, even though he volunteered for it.
Yeah.
He goes down. He's out. The original JP who pussed out, who said he wanted to kill himself, was just observing other people hanging themselves. The Canadian.
Yeah.
Stringing up the rope. And then we get another volunteer. I'll just say his name was the Bastard. It was actually his nickname. And he was like, I want to get hanged. And this was while the first hanging individual was still passed out on my front lawn. And he was still alive. He didn't get hanged till he died, but like close to the asphyxiation. Then the Canadian would drop him. And so the second volunteer comes through and he's like, yeah, this seems like fun. I'm up for it. And in the meantime, there's other females at the party witnessing this that are just like, you guys are fucking crazy. Don't fucking do this. You're going to fucking kill him. Don't, they're freaking the fuck out.
I mean, it makes sense.
It's a hanging party all of a sudden.
Oh, damn.
So volunteer number 2 gets hanged. Strings him up. I just talked to him recently about 2 months ago and asked him about his experience of being hanged. And he says, it's the worst feeling I've ever felt in my life. If the Canadian was closer to me, all I was trying to do was kick him in the face because he wouldn't let me down. He was waiting until I went out. He was trying to kick the Canadian in the face while he was hanging in the tree. And finally, the Canadian let go. Once he was out, he hits the ground. So now you got 2 people unconscious on the front lawn. This is at a party.
How many people were at your house at this time?
It was about 2 or 3 a.m., which kind of gives you some understanding. So people had probably at least 20 drinks in them to be at this point. You know, it doesn't make much sense. Anything under 20 drinks, it doesn't make any sense at all.
It's not something you agree to do sober.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
So now we got 2 people out. The first gentleman, he starts to recover a little bit. He's kind of, he's coughing, gasping for air. He's coming back to life. Contestant number 2, still out cold. And the Canadian looks at everyone else and he's like, all right, it's my turn now. So it's Canadian's turn, number 3. And everyone's like, no, dude, we're not going to hang you, bro. And he's like, fine. If no one's going to hang me, I will hang myself. So,
oh, man. That's pure Canadian.
Now we're getting into the good stuff, Neil, okay?
Yeah. I've never heard this story. I've never heard this one.
Now we're getting into the good stuff.
I'm ready.
So he puts the noose back up in the tree, but he was holding it before, and he was the one that would let it go, like over the branch, and then for the hanging individual, so he could control it. This time he just pulled the cord down, strung it up, climbed up the tree, and just hung himself.
That's bad. Oh my gosh.
I would imagine that one of the party members came and released him, because he did also go out, but I would imagine somebody ran over there immediately and released the cord, but then he went out. So we had 3 people, 1 semi-unconscious and two completely unconscious people on the front lawn that we weren't even sure that they were alive.
Oh my God.
This was a party.
I mean, yeah, that's unlike any party I've been to.
And just imagine, like, if even in Detroit, where, like we talked about, there's not a lot of, rules and there's not a lot of, authority, like little shit goes unnoticed, it's fine. But if, like, you're hanging each other in the front lawn, like, they would certainly stop,
Yeah. So what happened?
And everyone was all right afterwards. But that was definitely something I still can't wrap around my head to this day. And that was back in 1999, and it's 2020 now. And that was actually one of the, I would say, top 3, most insane things I've ever seen go down at a house party. And in general,
Yeah, it's it's not something. I mean, fuck, that was before I knew you. I graduated high school in 99, so.
The original guy who said he was the downer at the party. I want to kill myself like a punk rocker. I'm a badass. Fuck life. Was like, all right, and grabbed the extension cord. And he hanged 2 other people and then hanged himself when there was nobody left. And then the guy he called out was just in complete amazement. Just like, what the fuck, and he didn't really want to kill himself, or he had a prime opportunity to do so.
There's a stark difference between having suicidal thoughts and actually, like, hanging yourself by an electrical cord from a tree in front of your house at a house party. That, like, there's multiple steps that need to occur before you get there.
But he was called out, and that was good. And afterwards, the Canadian was like, "You're a pussy."
And it's funny. The Canadian has, like, a respectable career and everything now. It's just funny the things you do when you're in your early 20s or your late teens, and it's just amazing that we're alive. Say,
right.
Yeah, because of all the blunders I've had, especially when I was like blackout drinking a lot. I quit drinking in 2008, but I've had so many blackouts, and I've been in so many positions where I was like driving a box truck while blacked out, or you know, just tackling strangers while blacked out, just doing things that I never in a million years would even think to do sober. I'm so reserved now. I like just keep my mouth shut. I just observe. It's wild.
I totally agree, and we definitely all of us have pushed it to the limit so many times. When it comes to that, what I think about is like if you truly want to live, you can. But if you keep like chasing the demon and pulling on the demon's tail enough, and you really want to die, you can die at any time. So it's just one of those things. But like you can't keep pushing it. Like I believe in second chances, but not third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I actually was thoroughly convinced that I was going to die before I was 30. So when I hit 30 and I had a couple years of sobriety from booze under my belt, I was like, wow, okay. Well, now I don't have to be so anxious anymore about dying young because I didn't think I'd make it here. And then we like flipped our van on some ice.
I remember that.
Yeah. And when I survived that, I'm like, oh, okay, well, like that didn't kill me either. So I just started kind of trying at least to not take life for granted. And I felt just from then on, I felt like I was just kind of on borrowed time. I'm like, okay, if like being a super fat alcoholic didn't kill me, and if I didn't kill anyone else in the process, and then if I didn't die in that flipping a van over on the highway, like, maybe I shouldn't, be freaking out all the time.
Right.
Yeah, because that anxiety of, at least like when I wasn't drunk, I had terrible anxiety and terrible shame too. Shame for all the things I didn't remember doing and all the people I made uncomfortable. But when I was drunk, I was having a blast doing all that shit. Like being just being the loudest, fattest, drunkest dude. Yeah.
Well, I mean, drink to celebrate, like at a wedding, drink and celebrate a birthday, but don't become the party, And I totally have a lot of respect for what you're doing right now. And on the basis that you're still able to get on stage, perform, and release that same type of energy and do it without alcohol and not be a weirdo. Because a lot of people sober up, and that's great. You want to stop drinking alcohol, that's fine. I respect that totally. I've taken years off. I've done that, but at the same time, you're able to still channel your energy with your music. And for the most part, being content with yourself. And some people sober up and they have to find religion, or they get fucking whacked out and they're never the same again, and they can't find that same person that they were before, and they have an issue with self-identity, whatever you want to call it. You're still able to, for the most part, release that. I'm glad you're doing the podcast now, because you're always able to utilize that energy that most people would trap and say, my past is bad and I can't do like how AA meetings and stuff tell you you're this and you're that and you're that. No, it's a different chapter in your life is all it is. To me, it's just you just turned a page in a giant book that's a good book. And it doesn't even matter whether you drink alcohol or not, because you're a damn good musician. You're a damn good entertainer. And it doesn't even matter whether you drink or not, but it's been better for you. And I'm glad that you found that within yourself without being a fucking weirdo.
I just didn't want to die, dude. And that's what you're saying too about if you want to continue living, that life will grant itself to you. I've never heard it put like that. And thinking now about you saying that, it's like I never wanted to die. I just thought I was going to make it happen on accident. And I think I just did what I had to do to continue living. And I've had 3 lives at least. I had high school fucking punk rock football guy. And then I had complete fucking alcoholic. And then I had 10 years of a touring musician guy. And now I'm on this, I'm on this other shit where I'm just on the internet all the time and making all these fucking videos and I don't even fucking leave the house anymore. So I've had like 4 distinct lives, man. Crazy shit. Anyway,
but it's awesome though. They're just like I said though, but like chapters in the book. It's not like I don't like too much when people say reborn or I'm this new person or
that's true.
We're just the best person that we can be on that day. You know what I'm saying? And we have good days and we have bad. And sometimes things go smooth for us and sometimes they don't. But if every day was perfect, then there would be no good or bad day anyway, because there'd be no comparison to judge them by.
That's why I was on antidepressants for about 6 years, and that's why I had to get off that shit, because I didn't have bad days anymore. And for example, chemically, I couldn't be sad. Like, it didn't allow me to be sad, to cry. I didn't cry for 6 years, Steven. And when I got off that shit, it's like all those emotions came flooding back. And I had to reteach myself, okay, this is bad and this is good. I wasn't just on this like robotic middle ground, you know?
Right.
And I'm really glad I did that, because now I have really fucking bad days. I have days where I'm in a lot of pain and I don't want to get out of bed and I wish that I wasn't alive. But then I have days where I feel fucking amazing about things, you know? So it's something to be said about the highs and lows. You need the lows to be able to recognize the highs. At least that's my belief.
It's all about being content. And people that say you can never quit or like alcoholism is a disease is just bullshit. It's all in your mind. And if you really want to do something, you can become that, and you will if you really want to. It's people that feel like they lose control because it's like, I have a disease called alcoholism. I can't set the fucking bottle down. Fuck that. You have a problem with other issues and you're trying to escape those other issues. And if you don't solve those, you're never going to solve your current ones anyway. Yeah. I say that to a lot of people who like come here to Asia too, because for me, it wasn't an escape to come here. Like, I meet so many weirdos here that are like so fucked. And I can see like all you did was bring your problems from your home country here, and you're having the same problems you did back there, but you're blaming different people now, you know?
That's what they say too. Because I mean, arguably the reason I came out to California is I was running away. Yeah. I mean, I had some opportunities out here, but I came out here because I just needed to fucking escape this fucking terrible relationship I was in that was pretty much ending, but then I kept getting back into it. And I saw it as an opportunity for me to remove myself completely from all that pain. But then I ended up continuing in the relationship in a weird long distance, like polyamorous thing. I am a glutton for punishment, Steven. And the thing about that, the whole me punishing myself by doing these type of things, is because I grew up and the way my father treated me, and I found this out after he died because I started going to lots of therapy. But I was made to feel that I don't deserve good things because I'm not good enough. You know, I don't deserve anything good. So I would put myself in these situations where I would keep doing these fucking terrible things to myself and involving myself with people that made me feel bad because it felt like home. Anyway, kind of went on a rant there.
Right on.
What are you doing?
I'm urinating in the sink.
Attaboy. Anyway, let me.
I've had a chronic bladder infection for 20 years that can supposedly be cured. So when I have to go, I got to go. And I want to talk about the next story about the history of the urinary leg bag that I've utilized, especially under the chicken soup.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Mardi Gras 1998 down in New Orleans.
Okay.
These people down there were trying to charge $20 to use a bathroom, and they give you like a bracelet for one day to use a bathroom to piss in. And there's like 1 million people on Bourbon Street, and everyone's got to piss. Well, they don't have enough bathrooms, so you have to pay to piss. So I was like, fuck that. I have extreme pain in my bladder when I have to piss. So I use a urinary leg catheter. What it is just like a 1 liter bag that attaches to like the calf on either side of your leg. And there's a tube that goes up to your penis, and it's like a condom that's sticky that has glue on it that goes over your penis. It's not an interior catheter. And that way you can just piss, and it goes down the side of your leg into a 1 liter bag. And then you can act like you're tying your shoe and empty the bag on the side of the road, and nobody even knows that you're pissing.
Nice.
And I've used them on airplanes. I've used them at Mardi Gras. I've used them at sporting events. It's been awesome. And no one even knows. You can be standing there. You can stand up and stretch and take a piss, and nobody even knows. And when you empty it, when you're down on one knee, got to turn the water on because I just pissed in the sink. But when you're taking a pee, you take that classic stance, of taking a piss, and that's when the police are like, "Wow, you're urinating in public,"
Classic.
I used to wear the chicken suit, and I'd have the bag hooked up, so I would be pissing, and nobody even knows. I'd be having a conversation with you right now, taking a piss. But due to gravity, it helps to be standing. So I'll give you a good example. Detroit Tigers, when they made the World Series last time back in 2007, I was in town. I went to the one World Series game, and I was sitting in like a $1,500 seat, and in the chicken suit at the World Series, and I had the leg catheter bag under the chicken suit, and the way it worked was somehow my dad found this glitch in Ticketmaster system where he was able to get 3 tickets, but they were separate. So like my brother, dad, and me went to the World Series, but we all had to sit separately. So I was by myself without my family around in the chicken suit with the catheter bag on at the World Series, sitting in a $1,500 seat in the lower bowl. And I'm just running up and down the aisleway, cheering people on in the chicken suit. And this guy next to me in my chair was like, "How much did you pay for this seat?" And he started laughing. He was like, "You're going to wear a chicken suit? And this is like $1,000 seat?" I said, "Of course." I go, on top of it, I got this pee bag, and I showed him. He just started laughing. And he was like, "All right. You keep running up and down the aisles, and you drink as many beers as you want." And at the World Series, they were like $15 a pop. And he's like, "I will buy you as many beers as you want." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" "I'm a raging alcoholic." And he goes, "Just keep pounding them." So I got the leg catheter bag on. I'm in the chicken suit, and he's just buying me beer after beer I don't even remember any of the World Series. Keep in mind, like most people would treasure the experience of being at a World Series game in their hometown for their life. I don't remember any of the game at all. Totally blacked out. And he just kept buying drink after drink after drink. And I was pissing in the catheter bag and emptying the piss into the big cups that they would give you. Like he would get me the big 22-ounce cups. I'd pound them and then just piss in the cup and just leave it right next to my chair. And before you know it, there was 5 or 6 just giant cups of piss at the game. And I was running up and down the aisle. I completely blacked out. And he was like, "As many as you can drink." And that's all I remember. And I just kept pissing in the chicken soup. And before you knew it, I was supposed to meet up because we had 3 different seats with my family. So we were supposed to go to different places. I missed the meetup. I was completely blacked out. I ended up in the bathroom. This was game 2 of the World Series in Detroit in 2007. Rogers was pitching, and I was in the bathroom. Why? Because I wanted to take the chicken suit off, I was sweating, I was covered in sweat, and I was just about blacked out, and I was actually wanting to take like a real piss, and I wanted to empty my bag. So I'm waiting in line, and I'm taking an extra piss, but I don't know that the hose came disconnected from the bag. So I'm just pissing right into my own shoes, waiting for the stall. And there's like a line of 4 people, and there's a little kid with his dad behind me, and I'm standing there in a chicken suit. And there's just piss going down the side of my leg into my fucking shoes, and there's a puddle before I even noticed it. Before I could get in the bathroom, I pissed all over myself right in front of everybody in the bathroom, thinking that the catheter bag was still, connected. It wasn't. So I get in the bathroom, finally it's my turn, and I just took off the chicken suit, took off the catheter bag, and just left the whole fucking just chicken suit and catheter bag just right in the stall. And just walked out. We left the World Series in the 7th inning, and my dad and my brother were like, dude, you were just too fucked, man. I was on TV, running up and down the stairs, but the catheter bag, like in New Orleans too, was awesome because I never got arrested because you can bend down like you're tying your shoe and empty the bag and no one knows you're taking a leak. Here, you can take a piss wherever you want as long as it's not in someone's front door. In Asia, as long as you, go behind a bush or go behind like the place, nobody gets upset. Just don't take a piss on their front door,
That's fair.
But I would say I went through like at least 30 of those leg bags on 30 special blacked out nights that really helped, even on airplanes. These days, they'd probably think you had like, chemicals or something. I don't even know. But even on airplanes, it was great because I never had to get up. I could slam beers. The flight to here is, there's an 11-hour flight and then there's a 7-hour flight. Well, in 11 hours, I can put down a lot of beers. So I would just piss in the bag, and not have it disturb everyone around you.
Yeah, when I went to Japan, it was a 12-hour flight.
Right. So to get there, but then you have to do a jump to Cambodia from Japan. But anyway, the leg bag has been historic. Beyond the chicken suit and all the chicken suit activities, there was always the pissing. And it would be hilarious because I'd be like up and dancing, like at a club, and I'm urinating and no one even knows.
Lovely. And everyone wants to be friends with the chicken.
Right.
Everyone.
I've gone through at least 10 chicken suits, but it's probably closer to 20. Because after a certain time, the feathers just get too mangy, Yeah,
you spend enough time on the floor of whichever bar you're getting blacked out in.
I was at a disco club here with live music. And when I say a disco, I don't mean like, the Bee Gees. Just weird like Casio and dancing. I was in the chicken suit one time and I just fucking blacked out and I passed out right in the middle of the dance floor. And people just did circle dancing around me for like an hour before I came back to my senses and got off the floor. I don't even know how long I was down, but it was a long time.
And no one kicked you out of the bar?
No, you don't get kicked out here. You do not get kicked out. If you pass out next to the bar, they'll wait until you wake up and then you can order another one. There's no getting cut off here, Neil. The blame here, the yin and the yang of Asia and the Western world is you have your own control here. So if you want to pass out on the floor, that's fine as long as you don't bother anybody else. Because they'd rather have you sleeping than have an angry drunk that wants to fight or make a problem. So if you pass out here, it's totally cool. But you may be worried about your wallet or, you might have some problems, but people will just basically leave you alone. And then when you wake up, you can order more drinks. That's not a problem.
Nice. It's definitely not like that here.
But what I'm saying with the blame is the blame is more in the control of yourself. They think here It's not that the bartender gave you too many. It's that you lost control of yourself. Therefore, you accept responsibility of your own actions. And whether it's passing out or making a problem, you choose that road. It's the same reason why they don't require prescriptions here for medications. You can buy whatever you want here in the book, and it's completely legal because you have your own control. And if you want to do that, you can.
Yeah, I did some bartending a couple years back, and they made us take this class where it was a police officer and pretty much said, if you overserve somebody in the States and they like kill someone in a car accident, like they could come after you. You could be potentially charged for their crime. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, it's like, if you're serving hundreds of people, there's no way you could do like a field sobriety check on every single person. You got this big long line. You're working at, you're serving a bunch of drinks at a music fest. I just kept going, kept serving people. But then it's like, wait a minute. It seems kind of backwards, you know?
Here, it's you control yourself, and if you lose control, then you accept the responsibility. And I like that, you know, like you don't get cut off. There's nobody here that tells you, Neil, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. You're responsible for that. You're responsible for your own actions. And if you can't control yourself, then you can't. But there's no one that's going to try to stop you unless you impede on someone else's, you know, like anywhere in the world. If you're disrespecting someone else, that's different. But if you're passed out in the middle of the dance floor, it's totally legit here.
Lovely.
And I know that from personal experience.
Yeah, I was the chicken on the dance floor, passed out. So let's get into how you ended up in Southeast Asia. Like, you went to go visit for about 3 months. You went to Thailand after the house burnt down, and you knew, instead of like getting a place in the United States, that you wanted to go back. So what year did you actually go there to live? When did you make the jump? Because once you left, you were gone for a long time.
2005, where the incident happened, I came here for 4 months, and I liked it. It wasn't like I was obsessed with it or like I needed to be here. It was once I got back to America that I realized that, wow, that place just seems better suited for my lifestyle. And I don't mean to talk any shit about that place or this place. I've been to many different countries. I've been to probably over 15 different countries in the world. I'm not saying one is better than the other. Some of my best memories do come from Detroit. But I just I value freedom the most. So the place that has the least amount of rules is where I want to be. So when did I get here, to answer your question? Not until about 2008 or 2009. Is when I officially made the move. And that's when I, you know, sold everything and was like, I never looked back. So it's been a solid decade of, you know, of being here at least.
And you started off in Thailand, right?
Right. I did an organic farm there for a while, tried a few different things. Thailand's a little bit difficult, completely different than Cambodia, different style, even though, you know, being in America, it would be hard for a listener to say, like, what's the difference between Thailand and Cambodia? But it's completely different. And just this place is more suited for me, more freedom, more cultural style. It almost reminds me of like Mexico without the violence. Good culture, like people all dance here. Everyone dances. Like if you go to a wedding here, you dance, or they pull you up and you get in the dance line, whether you dance or not. They love spicy food, you know, so it's kind of like Mexican style, but without the violence, which is great. Because in Mexico, there's a lot of violence. Here with Buddhist people, they're very nonviolent. Not so like eye contact, you know, like look at me in the eye when I'm speaking to you, Neil. They never do that. They never do that. They actually look away. It's impolite, like to do that here.
Oh wow!
And there's none of that. There's none of that. Are you looking at my girl, motherfucker? You looking at my girl? No. It's more like they laugh. They're like, wow, this white guy, he thinks my girl's attractive. He's never going to get her.
Wow.
But with respect, you know what I'm saying? If you blatantly disrespect anyone in any country or any culture, that's different. But I'm just saying in general, there's no fuck you, motherfucker, unless you really want a problem here. If you really want a problem anywhere, you can find one. But I like that about here because you don't have to feel, afraid or taken advantage of. Keep in mind, I lived in Detroit for a long period of time too, where you're constantly, looking over your back and concerned about things. It's not like that here. I just blacked out last week. I sent you a message, and my tuk-tuk driver found my place after an hour. I didn't even know where I was at. Carried me up the stairs into my apartment, 2 flights.
That's polite. Wow.
And I'm 6'5", 200 pounds, and he's probably 150, 5'8" or 9. I'm a lengthy motherfucker to carry. And what I'm going to do is I wanted to already take care of him, but he was busy yesterday. I'm going to take him shopping and get a bunch of stuff for his family. It's like an Asian style way of saying thank you instead of if he just wants money, I'll give him some extra. He didn't ask for any extra, but I'm definitely going to hook him up. I think I'm going to take him to the supermarket and buy some stuff for his kids.
That's nice of you. So this is what I want to know. How far removed from the horror of the Pol Pot era of Cambodia is the country now? Because I don't know much about Cambodia, but what I do know, is from Dead Kennedy songs. So how's the progress of the country?
It's going all right. We're basically developing into a one world system anyway with the United Nations right now and all the things going on. We're kind of heading in that direction anyway. But as opposed to just Cambodia itself, I've been to the killing fields. I've been to these types of things. They don't really even talk about it here, and they're not too sensitive about it. They're aware of it. I wouldn't say not too sensitive, but just it's in the past. And Buddhists are definitely, taught to be in the present at all times. So sure, that happened. But they don't really not want to talk about it. But if you want to talk about it with them, they will. But they're not really that ashamed of it. They just look at countries like Singapore that are fully developed, in Japan, and they want to be like that. So they think that they just want to catch up, and the lack. Keep in mind, in the 70s, 60s, all the way up in the war, it was 40 years here.
Wow.
So it actually, in the year 1998, it was still going on when you and I were basically graduating juniors in high school. The Pol Pot era still didn't end yet. There was the UN and a few other people still trying to figure out what was going on. But from the past, that they don't seem too badly influenced. There's a lot of separated families, but in general, they're just the most kindest culture and people I've ever gotten. It's almost like evilness came through. It's like a cultural cycle that happens with almost every country, goes through a 100, 200 year genocidal, experience of build and destroy. I don't know why we do this as humans, but it's build and destroy, and then we restart again. They're at the top of building and restoring. So they're the kindest people I've ever met in the world. And they don't really talk about the atrocities that happened here. Not to not avoid it, but it's just in the past.
Yeah, so as far as the tenets of Buddhism are concerned, it revolves around being present Is that one of the tenets of? Because I don't know anything about Buddhism really, but we over here they talk about it in yoga class and stuff about being mindful and present in the moment. So is that reflective of them not dwelling on the violent past? Is because they're in the now kind of thing?
That certainly helps. And they're the most like passive. It's almost like you got like two different computers. Like you got a MacBook and you got like a Dell PC, and they're just wired differently, but in a good way. And they're just a lot more. They have a lot more patience for one. So in general, there's more patience. And there's not so much anger or immediate anger, but they do have a problem of holding in it too much. So if they lose face and you push them hard enough, they will pop like a balloon, but you got to really, really push on them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Canadian would have a field day playing devil's advocate here. To see how far you could push a Buddhist, but they don't get upset. Like, and they welcome your presence, like for the most part, but it's only if you like deliberately go out of your way to piss them off. They will deliberately go out of their way to make sure you have a bad day too.
Kind of like you in high school when someone gave you a hard time, they paid for it, $150 in a broken window.
Yes, and there's a lot of foreigners who can't accept that when they come here because they're used to just being a prick and, doing crazy shit, running around naked and stuff. Like, example, if you like show your ass or like want to like run nude down the beach side here, you can do that. But it's very disrespectful to the people, and it's not so much against the law, like you won't go to jail. But the people will see that as like, what's wrong with you, as opposed to like you're disrespecting everyone around you. And not because it's against the law.
Yeah.
So keep your clothes on and stop being a fucking idiot. Come over here and sit down and have a beer. Whereas in America, there's so many rules, like in England, where we feel like we have to break them because since we were born, it was like rules. So what do? Break them. Here, there's like you choose your own rules. And as long as you have respect, everyone's cool with that. Which is better because you actually get more discipline yourself. Like you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. And all of a sudden you figure you don't want to do anything. You want to sit down on a park bench here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. It's kind of like, I feel
1 minute, I got to grab another beer.